Hi everybody, DUGROZ here with DUGROZ Reports. Welcome to another episode of Frugal Points, the series where I drive in my car and talk to you about the philosophical side of points and miles. The topic today is, how many of us are there? In other words, how many points and miles enthusiasts actually exist? And how much do the credit card companies care about us? Let's dive in. Let's start by just discussing a couple of questions that are worth asking as we think over how many points and miles enthusiasts are actually out there. In your real life, I'm not talking people you met on YouTube or on a blog or on Discord, but in just normal, real life, people you know, how many other credit card maximizers do you know, not counting immediate family members or people that you personally recruited into the game? I don't know any. Honestly, I've never recruited anyone deep into the game. I convinced my sister to get a Hilton card, and I have a friend from church who dabbles in it, maybe like a Hyatt transfer once in a while from Chase. That's pretty much it. I don't know anyone that's even close to what I would consider a maximizer in real life other than myself. How many people do you know who have a travel credit card? Could be a co-branded card, airline, hotel, etc. Now, I know some. I like Delta, so I have a Delta card. I like Choice Hotels, so I have a Choice Hotels card. I know one guy who likes Marriott, so he has a Marriott credit card. But how many people do you know in real life who have more than one co-branded credit card of the same category? In other words, more than one hotel credit card or more than one airline credit card? I don't know of any. I personally have a credit card for Wyndham, IHG, and Hilton. So I have 3 in the hotel category. And honestly, I feel like I'm a little on the low side. I know, some people out there probably have a Hilton Surpass and 2 Aspires, plus an IHG card, plus a Hyatt card, plus the Wyndham card, plus a Choice card. I'm looking at you, Uncle Luke. So definitely, I don't know any people in real life who are maximizing amongst hotels or maximizing amongst airlines. So while I don't have any hard and fast statistical data, all I can go off of is anecdotal data. I feel like if you were a fan of the Buffalo Bills in the NFL and you moved to the southern part of Texas, your odds of meeting another Buffalo Bills fan in the wild are greater than your odds of meeting a points and miles maximizer in the wild. I know if I go to a grocery store and buy a money order, they'll say something like, yeah, there's one other guy who comes in here and sometimes he'll bring in these $200 gift cards and buy a money order. And I'm like, okay, so in my entire town, a pretty large suburb, over 50,000 people, there's maybe one other person that at least that's willing to buy Visa gift cards. And again, that's just an anecdote. Last Labor Day at the Creator Meetup in Las Vegas, after it was done, I went to supper with Chad from Chad's Money Minutes. And as we put our heads together, we thought to ourselves, I bet you there's at most 10,000 of us, people who are pretty well into the credit card points and miles game. And if you're really talking maximizers, like categories, multiple sign-up bonuses, riding the ink train repeatedly, it's probably less than that, maybe even half of that. Again, this is anecdotal, but it's part of what I'm thinking. This was reinforced in my mind recently when my sister came to town and was helping out my parents. So she had to buy some things on behalf of my parents. She has a, well, not she, my mom has a authorized user card for PenFed Federal Credit Union. That's the one that gives like 5 points per dollar on gas, which is really 4.25% cash back. And she keeps that with her so that when she road trips, she can get gas in her car if she's coming to take care of mom and dad. So she always has that one with her. And then I handed her a Freedom Flex and a Wells Fargo Active Cash and said, for the meals, like if you eat out, use the Freedom Flex, and everything else, use the Active Cash. Again, the PenFed card should only be for gas stations. Well, at one point she texted me and said, yeah, I'm going to buy some groceries at Walmart. Should I use the Freedom Flex for that? And I'm like, no, that's not a restaurant, even though you're buying food. Oh, okay. And then when I looked at the credit card online a few days later, she had gone ahead and spent at Walmart with the wrong card, even though I told her to use the Active Cash several times. And that's no big deal, because, we're talking $40-50, so it's not a huge deal. I'm not going to make an issue out of it. But just the whole thought process of keeping different categories straight for a normal person was overwhelming. How many people have we met in real life who you go out to a restaurant and you say something like, hey, is it okay if I just pay the whole bill and then you can give me cash or Venmo or Apple Pay or whatever? And they're like, sure, that's fine. And you tell them, I'm trying to get enhanced credit card rewards because this card gives me something better on dining. They're like, well, I don't care. And then that same person sees you earning rewards, and they see you redeeming rewards, at least indirectly. Like, oh man, you went to Europe, you went to the Grand Canyon, like you went to Virginia just on a whim. How do you do all these vacations? And you explain it. Well, points and miles, points are worth more than cash. You've got some options here and there. They're like, oh man, that seems like a great idea. You'll have to teach me how to do that someday. And then it never goes anywhere. You might have one other conversation, or you suggest the card you're using, and nothing ever happens. And I think that tells us, for most normies, it's just not a thing, quite frankly, that they are interested in. Now, I've had like 2 people get like a Freedom Flex or something, that just to go with rotating categories. And that's certainly a step in the right direction, but like the thought of maximizing is just, it's overwhelming. So here's where I'm going with this. It's safe to say, whether our 10,000 maximizers or 10,000 credit card enthusiasts number is correct or not, we know that we are a niche within a niche. Even if you look at the really big YouTube channels on points and miles, I'm talking like Credit Shifu, aka Ben Hedges, Adam Jesko with Proud Money, and Ask Sebi, which I think of as the 3 big ones. There's probably others, Daniel Braun, etc. They get up around 200,000, 250,000, and they kind of plateau. And even you take someone like Ben Hedges, and they start kind of spreading out more into general personal finance, not just points and miles. And they kind of have to if they want to grow. There is a natural plateau. And even if I say 250,000, that's just anyone who has ever clicked the subscribe button. We know on any given video, maybe 500 people will comment. So that's somebody who might think about it once. They might get a Delta credit card and then never come back to it again. So, application. Banks. I'll give a little bit of a hat tip to Matt Clausen, because he made me think of this, whether he meant to or not, in his video about Chase, and Chase being a behemoth, and we made them a gluttonous behemoth. There was a little bit of a discussion about, why does Chase allow the ink train to happen? And I don't think a firm conclusion was ever reached, but as I just think through things, I think there's one of 2 possibilities. Either you got a bunch of wannabe maximizers who screw it up and end up paying interest, so Chase rubs their hands together and says, tee-hee-hee. Even if 9 people get these big bonuses, that one guy that screws up and pays us a lot of interest makes it more than worthwhile. Or, and I think this is more likely, people who play the ink train correctly are so few that they just plain don't care. What do you think? Now, we know American Express does have their rewards abuse team, the rat team, but it seems like they get involved when there are giants doing giant things. Not so much for, you know, I went to Staples and bought a $200 Visa card one time. I have a little bit of a fear of that, but I don't think they're hugely involved. Or it's probably a very, very small team that just tries to hit people who are doing major abuse. But American Express appeals to higher wealth people, so they have more of a vested interest in watching out for people that are pretending to be high wealth but aren't. When it comes to all the other issuers, Chase, Wells Fargo, Citi, it just seems like they don't care if you manufacture spend. And I have to imagine the reason why they don't care is because we are such a teeny tiny percentage of their business. We just don't even stand out that much. So that's what I'm thinking. Banks don't even consider maximizers when issuing cards. Banks don't even think about people setting up trifectas or quadfectas when they issue their cards. The reason why Wells Fargo has the 2% everywhere card, the active cash, and they have the autograph, and they have the autograph journey, and they have the attune, in my judgment, isn't because they're thinking one person is going to get 3 of these or all 4 of these. It's because they're hoping they can have at least one credit card that will hook everyone or lots of different people. Put your comments down below. Let me know what you think, if I'm spot on or if I'm wandering way off track. Either way, I'd be glad to hear. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. Please consider becoming a DUGROZ Diehard, which is a channel member, for only $3 a month, no commitment, and you get access to members-only videos that are generally too sensitive or too controversial for the YouTube algorithm. And as always, may your spending be frugal, and may your points be plenteous. Thanks for watching.